guys, and welcome back to this reading vlog. I have 2 new releases that are going to be arriving hopefully this weekend. One is supposed to be arriving today, which fingers crossed it will, and the other one is supposed to arrive on Monday. So I thought, why not do a reading vlog of me reading these new releases that are some of my most anticipated books for this year. And one is The Rebel Witch, the second and last book to the first book, The Crimson Moth, or The Heartless Hunter, because that book has 2 titles. And then it's Wildside by Elsie Silver, and it was delayed. I pre-ordered it, and then for some reason Amazon just removed the pre-order and I couldn't find it anywhere. I couldn't even find it amongst my cancelled orders, which was super weird. So I had to order it again the day after, and then the arrival of it was delayed because it was supposed to have arrived today, but it's been delayed until like Sunday or Monday, and it's Thursday today, so that sucks. But it's that I can get to The Rebel Witch and then read Wildside, so you know, it works. I also finished The Favourites last night, and my Goodreads review summed it up quite well. That's really all I have to say about this book. It's just it changed me fundamentally. I will not be able to not think about this. It's the first book that I've read from Lane Fargo. I'm pretty sure it's my first book I've read of hers, and Jesus, the woman can write. She can write, and I read it in less than 24 hours. It's still quite a thick book, but if you have this on your TBR or you're for some reason hesitating to pick this up, I highly suggest that you do. If you liked the documentary way that Daisy Jones and the Six was written, and if you like ice skating romances, and if you like the level of drama that is in the Magnolia Parks universe, this is definitely for you. I would say that the drama in this one is worse than in Magnolia Parks, or better, depending on how you look at it, but still. It was an emotional roller coaster. It ripped my heart out, tore it to pieces, sewed it back together again, put it back in, stitched my chest up, pulled those stitches out, pulled my heart out again, and stomped on it on the floor. Yeah, that was The Favourites. That was my experience reading this book. But it's incredibly floppy. Like, it's one of the floppiest books that I own, which I love. Amazon also, I ordered it from Amazon, but I don't know if you can tell, but they cut the cover in a weird way. So the cover is like 1 millimeter or 2 shorter than the pages, and it's like quite shoppily cut as well, especially here in the front. I was like, when I received it, I looked at my mum and I'm like, what have they done? But I couldn't be bothered to send it back because it's still like the rest of the copies good. So, it just makes it mine, makes it special. I am going to be filling this out in my reading journal since I finished it last night, and I also finished my re-listen/reread of the Throne of Glass series. So I finished Kingdom of Ash last night and cried myself to sleep because that series, it hits me every time. I've read it 10 times at this point, and I cry like it's my first time experiencing it every single time. So I'm gonna fill those out in my reading journal, and then I'm in a reading mood and I don't really have anything else to do, so I'm probably going to pick another book to read off of my hopefuls list. Actually, you know what? Let's pull up one of those spin the wheels situations, and let's put in all the books I have on my hopefuls list. So let's spin and see which one I'm gonna read until The Rebel Witch comes here. It picks the yellow one every time. I don't understand it. But apparently I'm reading Five Brothers, by Penelope Douglas, which is fine. I can read that for a while. Until Penelope Douglas is a hit or miss for me. You never know. I love the Devil's Night series and like Punk 57, but then I read, what was it? It was Penelope Douglas, there we go. Penelope, False Boys. I read the first book in the False Boys series, Hellbent 1 or whatever it's called, and I did not like it at all. So, she's a hit or miss, but the Devil's Night series is really good. I also can't say the name Penelope without thinking of Epic the Musical and crying. Penelope, I will fall in love with you over and over again. I don't care how or when, no matter how long it's been, you're mine. Don't tell me you're not the same person. Let's fill in my reading journal and get this reading vlog going, and fingers crossed the Rebel Witch will show up tonight. But until then, let's jump into Five Brothers. I'm both curious and scared as to why this book is 500 pages long. But I also know nothing about it. On the other side of town are 5 brothers. Mason, no idea, is the oldest. I've never seen him smile. Army is a single dad with beautiful green eyes. Iron will be in prison soon. Red flag. Dallas is the one I hate. Trace used to be mine. I need to go home, away from the swamps and these men. I'll leave tomorrow. I'll crash on the couch tonight. Everyone is asleep except for one. He sees me crying. I let him wrap his arms around my body and hold me. I don't think it was Trace, which means it was another brother. I don't know who, but I can't help but want him to hold me again. Is this her like hunt to find out which of the brothers it was? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I just know that people were talking about it on TikTok for forever ago, and I'm finally starting it. So let's get into it. We love a good playlist, but I don't know a single song on this playlist. Not one. I know In the Woods Somewhere by Hosea. That's it. Only 100 pages in, I've barely made a dent. That's insane. It's getting good. It's getting good, you know? and it's making some very good points about how this world is run with the patriarchy and all of that shit. So I'm enjoying it. It's well balanced between, you know, the spice and the darkness in it, but making those points and, you know, still it's doing it in the right way, if that makes sense. You know, post note delivered, and I got The Rebel Witch today in time, but now I'm like halfway through Five Brothers. I'm reading through it very, very quickly, so I will probably finish that before, that's so satisfying, before I'm starting Five Brothers. And it's really good. It's actually surprisingly good. Not Devil's Night good, but good. Look at this. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's just as gorgeous as the first book. And it's not that damaged for once. Look at Amazon. They're delivering. Gideon was a perfect rival, a deadly enemy to outwit. It was why deep down she wanted him to come for her. She ached for the challenge of him. I can't believe this is the last book. It's the resolution, but I'm so sad. I wanted more. Okay. That didn't happen. The naked hardback. But we like naked hardbacks. They're elegant. They're timeless. You know, nothing special. But the cover's so pretty that it doesn't really matter. That was it. I'm gonna keep reading Five Brothers. Mum and I will probably watch a movie tonight, have some snacks, and then I will get to this thick bitch tomorrow. So it's Friday. I have been writing on my dissertation for a couple of hours, or writing. I've like written a sentence, but I've been doing some research and, you know, finding sources and things that I can use to support my arguments and, you know, all that fun stuff. And yesterday I read more than half of Five Brothers, so I will be finishing this today, and then I will be jumping straight into The Rebel Witch. I am on page 283 of Five Brothers out of, I think it's like 520 something pages. Yeah, 524 it seems like. So I am having a good time. It's not like Devil's Night amazing, but it is fast-paced and intriguing and just a good time, like a spicy, fun, good time. But it still has, you know, that darkness and depth that adds, you know, takes away from a like normal rom-com type of romance, if you get what I mean. It's not a rom-com romance, but it is fun and fast and spicy, but it has that depth and darkness that just, you know, that little extra. Not a 5-star. It'll probably end up being a 4-star, but I am having a really good time. And you know when you're sitting, you know, in front of your computer and you're doing something that you really need to do, and then you see your book all the time out of the corner of your eye and it's like calling for you to pick it up. That's what I'm going through right now. But I may pause for lunch. I have some leftovers from yesterday that I'm going to heat up and eat, and then I'll probably get to reading and be done with my dissertation for today. is Saturday. It's the day of the final of Melodifestivalen, which we are preparing for tonight, and I'm so excited to see who is going to win. But I finished, as you may have seen, Five Brothers last night, and this, you know how I said that Penelope Douglas is a hit or miss? This was neither a hit nor a miss. This was somewhere in between. It was more of a hit, but it wasn't like Devil's Night good, but it wasn't bad either, you know? It was, I mean, it didn't need to be 530 something pages. It didn't. And it built towards some things that then didn't end up happening. And there were some things that it like made it out to seem was going to happen, and then it didn't happen, and I was a little bit underwhelmed because we did have all of that build up because it is over 500 pages long, and then it was a little bit anticlimactic. I would have wanted it to be a bit more just more drama, because there was a lot of drama that built towards like the big drama, but then the big drama wasn't that dramatic. Does that make sense? You know? So I had a good time. It was a fun, spicy, sexy, dark, taboo romance, which Penelope Douglas is the queen at doing. So I'm not mad about it, but I'm going to end up giving it 3.5 stars because it was good. I had a good time. I would recommend it if you just want a good time that you're not that emotionally invested in, but 500 pages about finding the man who you slept with on a couch one night that you don't know which one of the brothers it was, like, it shouldn't have taken you that long, you know? I then jumped straight into The Rebel Witch, and I actually nearly got 200 pages into it, so I'm a bit more than a third, nearly halfway. Ouch. I just hit myself with the book. And it's like, it's exactly what I was expecting. It's so good. It's just as good as The Crimson Moth. You know, sometimes where there's like the second book in a series or the last book in a duology or the second book in a trilogy, that it doesn't give the same vibes as the first one because, you know, they've left the place where the first book played out, or something changed, or some characters aren't with us anymore, or, you know, for whatever reason, the vibe isn't the same. The vibe is exactly the same. The vibe is just as good, and it's just as fast-paced and easily read. I love the short chapters. I also love, like, the way it's like every chapter has a little moth. Gideon, I'm thirsting for Gideon. He is just as sexy as he was in the first book, maybe even more so, and Rune is just as quick-witted and sassy and amazing, and this push and pull between them that is still being captured like it was in the first book. I am obsessed. I love this. Like, Gideon, I said it in a different video, but Gideon is my favorite name on a man ever. Like Gideon from the Ruby Red series. If you haven't read Ruby Red and Sapphire Blue and Emerald Green, you have to. That is such a good book that I never see anyone talk about, but it is absolutely amazing. And the Gideon in here, like, I'm a slut for men named Gideon. Like, run me over with your car, I wouldn't mind. I would say thank you and please do it again. There's just something about the name Gideon, and every man named Gideon is just absolutely amazing. Like, there's Gideon from Criminal Minds, even though he isn't, like, that sexy, his mind is sexy. He's also old enough to be my dad, so I'm not really turned on by him. But Gideon from this, Gideon Devier from the Ruby Red series, like, just every man named Gideon hits. I want more fictional men named Gideon because it's my favorite boy name ever. Like, I hear that name and I'm just frothing at the mouth. Creaming my knicker. No, I can't say that. That's a Graham Norton reference, for those who don't know.
That I started to cream in my knickers.
I am obsessed. I love this. I mean, we have Melodifestivalen tonight, which means that I won't probably be able to read as much tonight as I would want to, because I do, like, want to actually watch that and not read as I'm watching it. But I will definitely get more than 2/3 today. Like, I sat and read before I went to sleep last night. I started it immediately after I put Five Brothers down, and then I went and made some tea or supper or whatever you want to call it, and I was just like 40 pages when I did that. I was 40 pages into it, and then I took the book to bed with me and I sat and read in bed a bit because I was like, I'll read a couple of chapters before I go to sleep. I might get 100 pages into it, and before I know it, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm 200 pages in, almost 200 pages in. But like that went by so fast. I also like hopped into bed at, it was nearly 2, so I read like, yeah, 150 pages in like 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it went by so fast. I thought I had been reading for like 30 minutes. I was so engrossed in this story. Engrossed, how do you say it? I was in these pages. I was where they are. I was experiencing everything with them. And that doesn't happen that often for me with third point of view books, because this is a first perspective, and I'm a girl who likes the first perspective because then I can imagine that it's me who everything is happening to. And there's a few books, it's like Sarah J Maas's books are always third perspective, and those really work for me. And it's like there aren't many books that are third perspective that I love, but these do. Someone's calling me. I am obsessed with this. I love it. I am so happy. It's so good. I highly recommend The Crimson Moth if you haven't read the first one, and then go straight into this one because it's out now, so you don't have to wait anymore. This is also giving me, like, if you love Serpent and Dove or Bone Crier's Moon, it's like that vibe with this, but this is like that little bit better. The things that were like missing a little bit in those two, that's in this. I did feel when I read this as if I wanted to reread Serpent and Dove, because the first book was really, really good. I think I gave the first book 5 stars, and it had that push and pull between the main characters that this book has, and that, like, you know, she's a witch, he hates witches, there's just something about that, you know? I love it. I love it so much. I love witches. And I love men who hate witches who then falls for a witch. It's the best trope. It's the best micro trope. Nothing beats it. I am going to read for a bit, because Mellow doesn't start until later tonight, and then all I really have to do, because I wrote so much on my dissertation yesterday, because I sat for a bit longer than I said I was going to. I sat for another like 2 hours, and I wrote like 1,500 words, so I don't really need to work on that today. I can wait with that for tomorrow. So that's what I'm going to do, so that I can read a bit before Mellow tonight, and then Mum's grocery shopping, so we're going to cook before Mellow, and then we also have snacks in the cupboards, and we're gonna just make it really cozy and have a great night. But you'll come along, you know? I'm still waiting for Wildside. I did get an email from Amazon, from the delivery company, whichever it was one of them, that said that they had booked delivery for Monday. So this will be done in good time before Wildside. You know how I just told you guys that Wildside wasn't gonna arrive until Monday, and that I had gotten an email confirming that? Well, someone just knocked on our door. Actually, they rang the doorbell and it scared the shit out of me because that noise is horrific. But I'm assuming this is Wildside, because I haven't ordered anything else, I don't think. Yes! It is time. Oh my god, the second I'm done with the Rebel Witch, I can jump straight into this. I don't have to wait for it. I am so happy. Amazon came through. They for once deliver things earlier than they were supposed to arrive. This makes me so happy. My mum's making a lot of noise in the kitchen, but I hope that it's fine. But what if this is the one that I pre-ordered, and then I'm gonna get another one on Monday? I'm gonna have to go in and check my Amazon account to see if that one that wasn't removed, the one that I ordered after the pre-order was removed, if that is this one. It says arriving today, so it just came earlier. Let's see. Delivered to customer today. Yeah. It's here. It's this one. I haven't gotten a double copy, thank God, but look at how stunning this is. I swear it seems like the only thing I do is sit on the couch, read, drink hot chocolate, and that's about it. But I promise I do other things. It's just like I don't have any school to go to since I'm studying from a distance at the moment and my work placement is done and, you know, all of that stuff. So I really just have like written assignments. Oh God, let's not spill. I only really have written assignments to think about and I write them from home. And I'm a homebody. I don't really like being out amongst a lot of people. So, and this weekend, I mean, this is a reading vlog, so then of course I'm gonna be at home and read. I don't know why I'm making that a problem. It's not. But so I finished The Rebel Witch last night and I had a good time. I liked it. The like first 70% really had me hooked, and then the last 30% I felt was a bit like, okay, we've gone back and forth now, okay, we've built towards this thing, this like reveal that, you know, it's a bit predictable, so it wasn't that much of a reveal, but I would have still wanted a bit more. It felt a bit anticlimactic, and then I was like, oh, we're going this way instead of that way, because like I don't know, it didn't end the way I thought it would, and the ending felt a bit anticlimactic and a little bit rushed, maybe even. I mean, it is a fast-paced book. The first book was also fast-paced, so it's had a fast pace through the entire thing, so it wasn't really a pace shift. But there was also a trope towards the end. I don't know if you can call it a trope, but I think that a lot of books and movies often have, especially when they're fantasy books and movies, because in like romance and contemporary books and movies it wouldn't work. But like a trope that I'm not personally that big of a fan of, because it like takes away from the like emotional hurt that it actually could have by knowing that like that's not true, like, you know. So I just felt a little bit underwhelmed by the ending. So, but I still had a great time. I love the duology. It's a good second book, like, don't get me wrong. It just wasn't a 5-star read. So I'm ending on a 4-star, so I'm like ducking. How do you say that? Deducting? Is ducking even a word? Like, I know you can duck, but like, anyway. So I'm deducting 1 star for like the ending not keeping up the standard of like the 70% of the book that it had, because 70% of it was amazing, and I was like, could be the first of both the first book and the second book are 5 stars, but then it kind of lost me a little bit, so that's why it's ending up being a 4-star. As you saw, I got Wildside last night. It wasn't supposed to arrive until tomorrow, so I'm very thankful to Amazon for coming through and delivering. So I'm going to start that today, and I am so excited. Like, this is one of, like, these two are 2 of my most anticipated reads for the entirety of 2025, and that they're coming back to back is insane. But like, we've been fed with new releases. Like, 2025 is packed with new releases. And like, after these 2, there's still in March a Sunrise on the Reaping, which is like one of the biggest book releases this year, I feel, personally, for me. Like, Sunrise on the Reaping is even bigger for me than Onyx Storm was. Like, I read The Hunger Games when I was a teenager. Like, I was young when I read those. I still have my very first copy, which is a copy where it's a Swedish copy where all 3 books are in the same binding. So it's like, it's massive. It's so thick. Like, it's thicker than this, and it's like a Bible but bigger. So that is really like important to me. I don't know how to explain it, but I just love the Hunger Games world, and it fascinates me so much. And now as an adult, I can you know, look at it from a different perspective and see all the parallels with our world. And, you know, it's become so much bigger than it was when I was a teenager. And I'm really fascinated by Suzanne Collins' world building and her character arcs and her storytelling and just everything. So I am so excited for that. I started on April's opening spread last night, and I am actually really proud. I think this is gonna be so cute. It's inspired by, I realize I have the television on at the same time as I'm speaking. It is so cute, and it's inspired by the Cobalt Empire. So I'm gonna have, on the next spreads, I'm gonna have like chess pieces and roses, and you know, probably the main color is gonna be blue. But I haven't really decided yet, but it's just gonna be things that remind me of the Cobalt Empire and the people I love most in the Cobalt Empire. So it's not gonna be an as obvious spread as maybe like March and January, that's just like fantasy witchy inspired, and February, that's Divine Rivals inspired, and then as you saw, March, that's Throne of Glass and Akatar inspired is. So the Cobalt inspiration isn't gonna be as obvious to a lot of people, but I'm gonna know it, and I think it's turning out really, really cute. I'm just filling out the first page. The next day, I read about like 120 pages of Wildside yesterday, and I am obsessed. I love it. It's so good. Like Reese and Tabitha and little Milo, like I am obsessed with this like patched together family vibe kind of. I was feeling pretty low yesterday. You know, it's difficult to stay healthy and body positive and happy with yourself in a eating disordered society. And yesterday and today and like the last couple of days, I've really been struggling with that. And, you know, it's so annoying when you feel confident and happy in yourself for a couple of days in a row, and then someone says something, or you see something, or something happens, and it's just all gone out the window. And you're back to where you kind of started. And I don't know, that's just really annoying. So I'm feeling very vulnerable today. I'm feeling like I have tears in my throat constantly. So I took a shower and just sat in the warmth and made a hot cup of hot chocolate, as is standard every morning now. Put on one of my favourite pyjamas and I'm just gonna try to take care of myself today, which a part of that is, you know, escaping into an amazing book. I'm watching the latest episode of The White Lotus, which I'm not sure if I like this series or not, but it's weird, so it's an easy escape from your own, you know, life. And that's really it. I think I'm also dreading having to travel back home to my place, because that's like a 4-hour train ride. It's an entire day of travel, you know, getting back to the station and then from the station, and you know, you don't have anything at home. You need to clean again because you've been away for so long, so dust has gathered, and you need to go grocery shopping because there's nothing in the fridge, and you need to drag, you know, a massive suitcase and a bunch of stuff. And I've been having a lot of pain in my shoulders and knees lately because I have issues with my shoulders and knees, and I don't know, it's just, I've been feeling stressed and tired, and on top of that, that vulnerability is making it tough. Så jag har inte gjort något. It's 2 or 3 days later. God, I can't remember the last time I filmed. But I finished Wildside 2 days ago. I finished it 2 days ago. And I haven't been able to film, or well, I've been able to, but I haven't because my mother's been sick and I've been kind of sick. I've been sleeping really, really poorly. And not that I feel better today, because I feel more like I'm getting sicker, but the weather was really nice, so me and Mum took a walk, and let me tell you, it was the walk from hell. My shoe was chafing my one heel, so I have a massive blister on that heel now. My hair was getting in my mouth, the sun came and the wind got still, and so I overheated and became really, really hot and started sweating a lot. And then the sun and so I opened my jacket, and when I opened my jacket, the sun disappeared and the wind blew in, and it was ice cold, like dead of winter in Sweden cold. So like, it was the walk of hell. I was so overstimulated and so unhappy, and I just wanted to get home. But then we had to go grocery shopping, so, you know, at least I have food at home now. Yeah, I haven't been filming because I've been feeling sick, but to you it won't have been 2 days that have passed. It will have been like a second, but for me 2 or 3 days have passed. I have such a brain fog today. I have no idea what I'm even going to be talking about. I did finish Wildside, and you know, I've been seeing some people on BookTok say that, you know, this topped Kate Eaton, but Kate Eaton is still very much securely in my number one Chestnut Springs man and Elsie Silverman and what's his name? Theo Silva. Theo Silva is very much still in second place. However, I did really enjoy this book. I had a great time. I think it was really fun, sweet, fast-paced. You know, it's kind of thick, but it's not that thick. And the only thing I felt was that everything happened a little bit too quickly. Or like the things of importance, since there were time jumps in this, felt like it went by a bit too fast. So I didn't feel like I really got to experience them craving each other and falling in love, and that tension that Elsie Silva is usually really good at. Like, she's still really good, like it's a really good book, but just the bar is so high now. She set her bar so high that, you know, what I'm comparing it with is, you know, the perfect specimen of a cowboy romance. I just felt like the whole, like, custody thing with her sister's son and them, like, having to become this family and working together for the boy's sake, and, you know, I felt like we didn't get enough of that, because the son, or like her nephew and his like neighbor's son, it's the same boy, but you know, he's not related to him by blood, but he's her nephew. He wasn't there most of the time. Like, most of the time he was somewhere else, and I just felt like I wanted more of that, you know, we kind of have to become a family, but we don't really like each other for this boy's sake, because we both love him, and then we can agree, and we're slowly against our own, like, what we want falling for each other. That's what I wanted from this, and I didn't feel like I fully got that, so that is why this ended up being 4 stars. It's still a very good book, like, I had a great time, but if we had gotten more of that, it would have easily bumped it up to a 5 star. But I'm ending it on a 4 star. I finished listening to Fall With Me, and I remember when I read the first 3 books, it was years ago now. I read Consider Me and Play With Me before the 3rd book, Unravel Me, had even come out. And Unravel Me, I remember that I really liked that. But it's been years, and I feel like either my standards for a good book have changed, or you need to be in a really fun, goofy mood to read these books, and I was not in a fun, goofy mood, because I just cringed at like everything that came out of this main male character's mouth, and he was too much of a dickhead that it didn't turn into like him being a grumpy, arrogant guy or a cocky, confident guy. It kind of turned into him being a misogynistic dick, and I don't vibe with that. So I ended up giving that a 1 star. That's really all I have to say. You know, when you're sick and you want to like watch your favorite comfort shows, I kind of wanted to do a reread, but I also quite recently finished my Throne of Glass reread, but I decided to continue my An Ember in the Ashes reread, and I'm listening to them for the very first time because I've only read them physically. But it's been a couple of years since I read the first book, and like 2 years since the last book came out or something, and I read that, and I love this series. And I listened to An Ember in the Ashes not that long ago, so it was time. So I jumped into A Torch Against the Night, and I'm just an hour and a half in. But this series is so good. Like, if you haven't read, if you're a fantasy girly who loved the era of like The Cruel Prince, The Infernal Devices, the like OG Book Talk books, excuse me, you're going to love An Ember in the Ashes. Like, the tension, the politics, the, you know, how it goes from 2 perspectives to multiple perspectives in the later books, and you know, it's just long enough. Like, it's not as extensive as the Throne of Glass series, if that feels daunting, because it's 8 books, but it's not like a duology that's going to be over quickly, and it's not one of those where you're like, where it goes downhill after the first book and you're like, this could have been a trilogy or a duet, because it's so well written and so well thought out that you need all the 4 books. Like, there's no place where you're like, oh well, we could have skipped this and made it 3 books. No, we want all 4 books. After Wildside, I started reading I think it's an arc, but I received an ebook for a collaboration, so I'm reading that book for the collaboration. It's called The Elf Witch. I am having a really good time. It's a morally like black main female character and main male character, I believe. I haven't gotten that far yet, that her love interest and her have met. I don't think they might have, but in that case we don't know that it's gonna be the 2 of them yet, but it's really good. I'm having a really good time. But then I saw, oh god, what's her name? She does a bunch of, I love her TikToks. She does a bunch of, you know, skits where someone comes into like her bookstore kind of thing, and they ask for book recommendations, and she's like, well, if you want this, you can have this, but you can always have this, and she always has a bunch of recommendations. I know, I'm the influencer. Chelsea reads. I love her videos. If you haven't seen them, go to Chelsea Reed's TikTok page. She is absolutely amazing at giving a whole smattering of different recommendations. But she was reading Split or Swallow, and I don't know when she read it, because the video just came up onto my For You page and I immediately liked it. And I have seen this on Book Talk, but I've never listened to anyone talk about it on Book Talk. I've just kind of scrolled past because I've just dismissed it and been like, that's not for me. The way Chelsea spoke about it, I couldn't help myself. So I got it on my Kindle and I started it last night. And I read 150 pages in one sitting, in like an hour. I read 150 pages. I'm going through this book so quickly. It is it's surprisingly good. Like, I am eating it up. Pun not intended, but it's surprisingly well written. I feel like there's a depth. Can you stop? Just stop texting me. I feel like there's a plot unraveling like below the surface. It may seem really shallow because it's like about sex, and I'm not sure how I feel about the whole sexist society where when the prince comes of age, women are sent, all the women in the village who are the same age as the prince are sent into caves to be trained in the act of making love by basilisks. And, you know, I'm not going into this completely blind because I have some experience with basilisks and their powers from, you know, the Ruthless Boys series, I believe it is, by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti, the women who wrote Zodiac Academy, because there's a basilisk shifter in that one, and he also has the same, like, can influence your virility, kind of, and that's, like, what it is here, that those basilisks do, because there's, like, a truce between the people and the basilisk, because they are servicing the kingdom in this way, because there was a war and then they like solved the war in this way, that like the basilisk are training the prince's future wife, and he gets to choose one of these women who have been trained in the act of making love by the basilisks, and they are well hung. And the main female character, of course, who is a virgin and has never been kissed, is paired with the Serpent King, who's the king of the basilisks, and therefore also sized accordingly. And from his, you know, the first time they meet, he just wants to look at her and like look at her. He looks deep, and then he finishes in his hand, like catches it in his hand, and then he does something with his magic that turns it into a solid, and that shapes it in the form of like a claw with one end that's thicker than the other, and then he tells her to wear it inside of herself. I can't believe I'm talking about this. It's a magical vibrator. This is what Chelsea spoke about, like, made me want to read it. So now I'm speaking about it, and it's gonna make you want to read it. But Lindsay Straub has literally created a magical vibrator that he has created from his and turned into a solid shape like a claw. So when she inserts the thick part, the like thinner end of the other end that's like thinner nestles against her little nub, and when he thinks about her, it sends pulses to this claw, which sometimes at inopportune times makes her but I had a great time reading these new releases and some other books as well, because I read Five Brothers for this video too, right? Oh, there's been a lot of spice. But there's been some YA. We had the Rebel Witch YA thrown in there, and we had, towards the end, A Torch Against the Night, which is also a refreshing YA with sweet, cute, tension-filled romances with a lot of yearning. If you want yearning, the Crimson Moth and An Ember in the Ashes series is exquisite. So we're gonna leave it on that note. I hope you had a good time. I know that I did. And thanks for watching. I love you guys. Bye.